Walked into that hotel room, looked at the mother and said, "I'm sorry." She asked, "What did you do?" And he shoots her 3 times.
What could make a son turn a gun on his own mother? What could make a man target a cousin and another woman connected to his past just minutes apart? And why did investigators believe he was heading toward another woman after all 3 killings? On one night in Bradenton, Florida, 28-year-old Javontee Brice allegedly moved from one location to another, leaving 3 women dead and a community trying to understand what had just happened. But the warning signs did not begin that night. Javontee Brice was 28 years old and had spent much of his life around his family and children. He was known to be athletic and had competed in track, but people close to him also saw another side. Court records later showed a history of domestic violence and serious mental health concerns. At one point, Brice was placed under the Baker Act and later had a risk protection order that restricted his access to firearms. That order eventually expired. His family had already seen behavior that worried them. There were also social media posts where Brice wrote about feeling rejected, hurt, and broken.
Life is so beautiful. And what makes it so beautiful is when you look me in my eyes and you told me that you love me. And I lied and told you I accept that love. But truth is, I cannot accept love because I am a broken man. I'm more broken than a total car without the help of a tow truck. I asked the Lord to remold me, rebuild me, reaccept me. But the Lord told me he had to have a conversation with the devil before approval. So what do you think I look like to society? Society laugh at me. Society joke about me. So when I walk this earth, I'm laughed at. Laughed at from the deaf, from the blind, from the weak and the broken. So when you look at me, just please accept me for who I am. Because if you cannot accept me, what's life? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just love me. For I don't understand the love of others. I just give out love. Because that's how my heart is set up. I'm sorry. Sincerely.
He talked about love, faith, pain, and the feeling that people around him did not understand what he was going through. But none of those posts could tell anyone exactly what he would do next. And that distinction matters. Mental health struggles do not automatically make someone violent. What investigators were looking at was the combination of Brice's past behavior, his relationships, his threats, and what happened during those final hours. The night of June 24th started with a warning. According to Manatee County Sheriff Rick Wells, Brice went to the Palmetto Trace Apartments, where his sister and one of the mothers of his children were located. He reportedly confronted the woman and told her, "I have to kill you." That should have been the moment the danger ended. Instead, his sister managed to calm him down and stop him from shooting. Brice left the apartment. The woman was still alive, but investigators say he already had another destination. Around 9:15 p.m., deputies were called to a Motel 6 on 67th Street Circle East in Bradenton. Inside was Brice's 48-year-old mother, Titinysha Scott. She was staying there with her boyfriend and her 2 younger daughters. According to Sheriff Wells, Brice walked into the room and approached his mother. He told her, "I'm sorry," she asked. "What did you do?" Then Brice shot her 3 times. Titinysha Scott died at the scene. And just like that, what had begun as a threat against one woman had become a murder investigation involving Brice's own mother. But he was still moving. The next victim was his cousin, 29-year-old Sacouya Javontee Brice. She had been at a gathering in Palmetto and was preparing to leave. Around 9:40 p.m., investigators say Javontee Brice arrived and shot her as she was getting into her vehicle. Sacouya was rushed to the hospital, but she died from her injuries about an hour later. Her death made the situation even more painful for her family. She had recently celebrated her 29th birthday, and she was the mother of 2 young boys. Her husband had already died, leaving those children without either parent after her death. 2 women were now dead, and investigators say Brice was not finished. He was already heading toward another location, and this time, the victim would be someone connected to a former relationship, By around 10 p.m., another emergency call came in. This time, deputies were sent to the 4800 block of 51st Street West in Bradenton. Inside the home was 31-year-old Charel Carter. She was not Brice's ex-girlfriend. She was the partner of his ex-girlfriend. That detail became important as investigators tried to understand why Brice had allegedly targeted the people connected to his past relationships. According to the Bradenton Police Department, Carter was shot in the face at the home. She was taken to Blake Medical Center, where she died from her injuries. 3 women were now dead, and investigators believed the 3 shootings had happened in less than an hour. Make it make sense. Brice had already threatened one former partner. His mother was dead. His cousin was dying in a hospital. Now another woman connected to his relationship history had been killed.
Tonight at 5, we're following that triple homicide in Manatee County. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren St. Germain.
And I'm Paul Legrone. Tonight, there are questions about what caused a Manatee County man to go on this killing spree and take the lives of 3 women, including his own mother. We have all the 3 crime scenes here laid out on this map in Manatee County. The sheriff today telling us the 28-year-old Javontee Brice drove from home to home, killing those 3 women before he made a run for it all the way up to the Florida-Georgia line, where he then got into a shootout with cops who killed him, bringing his night of violence to an end. And tonight, ABC Action News reporter J.D. Williams with brand new details on how this killing spree unfolded scene by scene and hour by hour.
And tonight she's walking us through all 3 scenes. She also spoke with people who saw the aftermath of the shootings.
Here in Bradenton is one of the multiple locations where Javontee Brice allegedly shot and killed someone. 3 locations where someone died, another an aggravated assault, but it all ended in a police shootout in Hamilton County right before the Florida-Georgia border.
We're getting a 33 with injuries at Motel 6. There was a female that was shot in the back.
I'm a little still shaken up. Sleep is an issue.
As David Valentin was settling in for the night at the Motel 6 in Bradenton, the sound of gunshots startled him. He described how he tried to save the woman in the room 1 floor above him from dying.
And then I started hearing the daughter screaming, "Help me, help me. My mom's been shot, my mom's been shot." So I told my son to get me towels. I ran out the door, ran upstairs, and ran in there, and that's when I found out that it was her son that shot her.
Despite his efforts to save her, Titinysha Scott died from multiple gunshot wounds.
He walked into that hotel room, looked at the mother and said, "I'm sorry." She asked, "What did you do?" And he shoots her 3 times.
Manatee Sheriff Rick Wells says she was just one of the victims of her own son, Javontee Brice's violent spree Monday night. Sheriff Wells says it started with an aggravated assault. Then Brice killed his mother at the Motel 6. Next, he went to this house in Palmetto, where he killed his cousin, Sacouya Brice. Next-door neighbor John Singh was on his porch when that shooting happened.
There's always action, something going on over there. And then, the police showed up and stuff, and but my reaction, I knew something bad happened.
From there, Sheriff Wells says Brice made his way to this apartment complex in Bradenton, where he shot and killed his ex-girlfriend's new partner, Charel Carter.
But instead of stopping there, investigators say Brice got back into his vehicle and continued north. At that point, police had a serious problem. They knew who they were looking for. They knew he was armed, and they had reason to believe he might have another target. Authorities issued a statewide alert for his vehicle as law enforcement agencies began looking for him. Investigators later learned that Brice was believed to be traveling toward Georgia, possibly to confront another former girlfriend. That meant this case was no longer limited to Manatee County. It had become a race to find him before someone else was hurt. The search eventually led deputies to Hamilton County in North Florida, near the Georgia line. Around 1:30 in the morning, a Hamilton County deputy spotted Brice's vehicle near an Exxon station in Jasper. Deputies followed the vehicle. Brice stopped, and then came the final confrontation. According to Hamilton County authorities, Brice got out of the vehicle and opened fire at deputies. The deputies returned fire. Brice was killed. No deputies were injured. A woman was also inside Brice's vehicle. She survived and was not charged. The immediate threat was over, but the questions were just beginning. There would be no courtroom trial for Brice because he died during the confrontation with deputies.
In Manatee County that left 3 people dead. The suspect, also dead, killed in a shootout near the Georgia state line. You're watching 10 Tampa Bay. I'm Courtney Robinson. Adore Achumba is live at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. And Adore, this started in East Bradenton.
That's right, and we're learning more intricate details about this shooting spree and the timeline to it. According to Manatee County Sheriff Rick Wells, the shooting started at the Motel 6 on 67th Avenue around 9:15 last night. He says the suspect, 28-year-old Javontee Brice, at first was reportedly acting strangely, according to witnesses. Now, law enforcement said the suspect before the shooting had gone to an apartment in Palmetto where his ex-girlfriend, his sister, and some children were. Sheriff Wells said he told the ex-girlfriend that he had to shoot her, but his sister talked him out of shooting that ex-girlfriend, who is also the mother of some of his 12 children. Wells said Brice then went to the Motel 6 where his mother was and shot her in front of her boyfriend and other children. He then went to another spot, shooting his cousin. Less than 30 minutes later, they say he found the partner of his ex-girlfriend and shot them on 55th Street West near 8th Avenue Drive West. Now, investigators and EMS arrived at the scene within 3 minutes of the incidents. They say witnesses told them Javontee Brice was the shooter in all of those incidents. A bolo alert was out for his vehicle, believing he was on his way to Georgia to target yet another ex-girlfriend. Now, he was spotted by authorities in Hamilton County, Florida, on the Georgia line. They say Brice got out of the car and started shooting at the officers.
Walked into that hotel room, looked at the mother and said, "I'm sorry." She asked, "What did you do?" And he shoots her 3 times in front of the boyfriend and these 2 innocent young juveniles. We don't know what set this man off. We don't know why he chose to kill his loved ones.
And officials say there was also a woman in the car with him during the shooting incidents and the shootout with the officers in Hamilton County. They are interviewing that woman to determine her connection, or if any, and her relationship to the suspect, and if there's any motive that she can point them to. Now, investigators also are looking through a series of social media posts that are believed to be Brice's, made on a social media page, where he names some of the family members and the ex-girlfriends that he targeted. We'll be following this story throughout the day. Live in Manatee County, Aduria Chumba, 10 Tampa Bay.
Instead, investigators were left reconstructing the final hours of his life through witnesses, phone records, social media activity, police reports, and the history surrounding his relationships. And there was plenty to examine. Court records showed previous domestic violence allegations and episodes that had raised concerns about his mental state. In one case, police had described him as a significant danger. Records also showed that a risk protection order had previously prevented him from possessing firearms, although that order later expired. Investigators still had one major question. Why? Why his mother? Why his cousin? Why Charel Carter? And why was he allegedly traveling toward Georgia after the 3 shootings? Some theories circulated among people who knew him, including claims about his relationships and fears surrounding his private life. But investigators never established one clear motive that explained all 3 killings. So now, this is where the facts have to be separated from the theories, because the women are not theories. They were real people, and each one left behind people who had to live with what happened that night. As investigators continued looking into the killings, the picture of Brice's past became harder to ignore. His family had already seen moments when his behavior became dangerous. He had faced domestic violence allegations. He had experienced mental health crises. He had previously been placed under a firearm restriction. And according to court records, there had been earlier incidents involving threats, violence, and behavior that caused relatives and police to worry about him. But none of those facts provides a simple answer for why 3 women died that night. That answer may have died with Brice. What investigators could establish was the sequence. He allegedly threatened a former partner. His sister intervened. He left. Then he went to the motel where his mother was staying and shot her. Minutes later, his cousin Sacouya was shot in Palmetto. Then Charel Carter was shot in Bradenton. And after that, Brice allegedly headed north toward Georgia. The entire sequence unfolded in a matter of hours. There was no trial. There was no jury that would hear Brice explain himself. There was no sentencing hearing where families could look him in the face and demand answers. Instead, the case ended beside a highway in Hamilton County when deputies returned fire after Brice allegedly shot at them. That left investigators, relatives, and the community with a question that still hangs over the case. What pushed him to this point? Some people pointed toward his troubled relationships. Others focused on his mental health history. There were also claims about private relationships and fears that certain parts of his life could become public. But those claims were never established as the confirmed motive for the killings. And that matters. Because when a case like this happens, people want one explanation that makes everything fit. Sometimes there isn't one. Titinysha Scott was a mother. Sacouya Javontee Brice was a daughter, cousin, and mother of 2 boys. Charel Carter was a woman with her own life and people who loved her. In a matter of hours, 3 families were changed forever. And Sacouya's children were left without both parents. This case also shows how difficult it can be to recognize the point where troubling behavior becomes an immediate danger. There had been warning signs in Brice's history. There had been domestic violence concerns. There had been mental health crises. There had been restrictions on his access to firearms. Yet none of those things stopped the violence that eventually happened. So what can we take from it? When threats become specific, when someone is already showing violent behavior, and when a weapon is involved, hoping things will calm down may not be enough. Sometimes the safest decision is to take the threat seriously before there is a victim. Because on June 24th, 2024, 3 women lost their lives in a series of shootings that lasted less than an hour. And the people who loved them were left with something Javontee Brice could never give them: an explanation. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe to Fable of Crime. We cover the cases that leave families searching for answers long after the headlines disappear. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. And if this case made you think twice about the warning signs, let me know what you think in the comments.